Okay, hey, I want to jump online on YouTube and share some information that's kind of, I think, positive and good. Sorry, my lighting just sucks. I can't get lighting down. I'm a photographer, but I can't get the lighting in my house. All right, all my lights are burned out up here, and I'm not going to the store to get these specialty bulbs. So I'm just running a incandescent lamp over here, and it's pretty bright. I guess I can turn this on maybe and point that. Let's see here. Let's see. Ooh, like the details. Man, I don't look good. Okay. Yeah, so I took the tune off my Q50S in 2019 rear-wheel drive Q50S 3.0T, and I got some pretty good results. I can't log probably 50% of the things that I can log when the tune is installed on the car, but I can log some things that I can get some information from. So I got to speed up my speech and not talk so slow. Okay, so here's what I have. This is my picture, so you can see me, so it's just not a voiceover. Here's my log. So it is like 72 degrees outside. 46% humidity, similar to yesterday, but we're not looking at yesterday's log, so forget that. A stock tune, car's all stock. It's just got the intake, AMS intakes in it, and that's it. And so the car dynoed like that, 315 horsepower, rear wheel horsepower. I don't know if that's running the same after all this hoopla that I've done to the car. But I'm going to assume that it's running 315 rear wheel horsepower. So here we go. And the ignition timing is a lot different. When I'm driving around now, my car is seeing. Let me get my ignition timing pulled up. So this is this log that's up here on the screen. Let me just. On the screen is pretty much wide open throttle from about 14 miles per hour all the way up to the peak, which is 102 miles an hour, and I had to shut off. So we got in this gray line at the bottom there, and you want to look in the black box, it has my ignition timing there. And as this is the start of my run, this is the end of my run. So the start of my run, let me get my bearings too. Vehicle speed. So here, the red is the vehicle speed. The gray is ignition timing, and the really this is kind of more of a I don't know, kind of a velvet. I don't know what color that is. This is more gray. So the gray line. So that's my RPMs, and then the yellow or the bright spitting the white bright whitish yellow line is my air coolant temp. So let's just look at this, and it's pretty good information. Everything seems to be right on par. So everything seems to be good. So the red is my vehicle speed all the way, and it's climbing up to all the way up to 102 from 14 miles per hour, and my ignition timing. So I get on the throttle about right here. It doesn't allow me to log my pedal position. But I know from driving that when it starts increasing, I was putting it to the floor pretty quickly. So it's going up to 100%, like really, really fast. So I'm accelerating all right here as this line for engine speed starts going up. So my ignition timing is 19, 17, 16, 14, 12, 11, 10. Hovers at 10, and now I'm getting up to around 6,000 RPMs. It's 12, 13, 6,400 RPMs, 14 ignition timing, and then I'm getting ready to shift, and this is totally normal. Don't see any problem with this, and I'll let people that are more qualified tell me if this is accurate. But I mean, I'm almost positive. The car shifts at 6,400 RPM, the ignition timing jumps down to -11, and that's totally fine because the car is shifting. So it's not applying, with the transmission and all the computer stuff going on, it's going to allow that to drop. But then once it kicks right back into gear, it comes back to 7 and goes up to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and peaks out at 17. So at that point, I am going 55 miles per hour, and I'm shifting at 6,600 RPM. And then the shift comes, and then the ignition timing drops down to negative 10 between the shifts. And then when the shift is completed, it jumps back up to 5, 8, 9, 10. Let's see here. Make sure I'm looking at 10. And it stays at 10. And by now I'm going 72 miles per hour. It stays at, and it jumps up to 11. And then I'm at 80 miles per hour. And then the gear shift comes and it drops down to a negative 11. And then quickly as it engages, it's going back up to 7. Ignition timing, 8, 9, 10, 9, and almost it's a 9. And then when I hit 102 miles an hour and I shut off, the ignition timing was 9, and then went up quickly to 10. And then I let off the throttle, and it jumps up to 18, 10, 8, and then I'm coasting from there, and I'm upshifting. So I don't see any problems with that. A lot more comfortable than the BS I was seeing. I mean, the car is obviously pulling a lot less boost, so it's not heating up as much. The air intake, compressed air is not entering the cylinder as hot as it would be as with higher boost. I can't log boost pressure here. I tried to look for everything, and there's turbo speed, and that's probably the Red Sport 400. There's no turbo speed sensor, so I can't log any boost without the tune on there. But the coolant, and you can't log the charge air temp. So the air that's coming in and it's being compressed, you can't log that, but that pretty closely, from my experience, mimics the charge air temp. So the difference between the air temp and the air coolant temp, obviously in the name, but it mimics pretty closely the rise. I mean, it's not drastically off, maybe 5 to 10 degrees between the coolant temp and the charged air temp, where I think air temp might be a little higher. So we go from, when I'm at 14 miles per hour, it's 88 air coolant temp, and it goes up from when I hit 102 miles an hour, revving it out each time, up almost close, 66, 67, 6,700 RPM. So at 102 miles per hour, I went from 88 to the end of that run to 99. So not a big gain in coolant temperature. So the heat exchanger seems to be working well. I mean, that would be a drastically different number with the stock heat exchanger. So other than that, I don't know intake air temperature. As you can see, I started out at 14 miles per hour, and I got on the gas and I'm starting to accelerate. Air intake temperature went down from 84 to the middle of the run, or close to the end of the run, to 72 degrees, and then at 102 miles an hour it was 72 degrees. And then right after I let off the gas, and I guess the pump shifts down in speed, it jumps back up to 79 and levels off from there. So some pretty cool information. So and then we can look at radiator coolant temp, and so that is the pink line, and that's the pink one is right there. So at the beginning of the run it was 194. Start getting up in speed, stays at 194 up to 102 miles per hour. It's still 194. And then after the run, it starts to drop down to what, 181. So, I guess it's not a hot day out, so it's not going to be in the 200 or the 195 to 210. So, yeah. And so I think that's the only thing we need to see here. Oil temperature, just for people that are interested in this logging information. Let me get some things turned off. Engine oil temperature. So all during this run, let's see, that would be second gear, third gear, fourth gear, and I think the very end of fourth gear. So engine oil temperature was 194. It jumped up to 196, and at the 102 miles an hour, it was 198, and then it'll probably rise up just real quickly. And then when you start driving around and cooling down, it'll drop down probably into the 186 range, 190. So, man, I think everything looks good. I think this shows that, maybe it was the tune. Car seems to be running normal. I'm going to submit this to the guy I'm talking to, or going to be talking to more, at Austin Infinity, and see what he can make of this between the tuned maps from tuned logs from yesterday, and the untuned today. And why I've got you here online, I can do that real quick too while we're here. Okay, so this was from yesterday. No, hang on. That was from just driving around, getting a general, not on the gas, just cruising around. So let's look at this one. This one will have should have, okay, and this has two really close back-to-back runs. I'm going to cover up my picture a little bit, so I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to hit Shift and zoom in and draw across, and then drop it. Okay, so here we are looking at, so this is with the tune. So, and see, I got a lot more parameters. So what I'm looking at right now is engine RPM. So as I move from the left to the right, you can see my RPMs gain up. And so I shifted a little early yesterday because of probably a little freaked out, just this is at night time, but I mean, there is some traffic, and I don't want a police coming the next way. The police station is not very far away, and sometimes the Dallas cops coming back from other parts of town will come down this road, and so I don't want a 102 mile an hour ticket in a 55 or a 45. So I'm kind of freaking. So I'm like, let's get this over with quick. So okay, so we got engine speed, so we can see that, and I did a full run, so I'm going to go here to vehicle speed, and then so we see that first run was to 99. The second run, only, maybe a couple of minutes later, was 103 to 103.6. Yeah, 103.6, so it's called 104. So now we got those parameters established. So knock retard. So like I said, I think this latest revision that they gave me 2 weeks ago, before really this coronavirus really started to sink in and people started to freak out, I went in and mentioned, about knock and not being real comfortable with it, and we need to do something about it. And I think he desensitized the knock sensor. So my knock sensor is reading 0 unless it was really heavy knock. That's what I'm assuming. So knock retard, that's kind of canceled out. So ignition timing correction. So we're going to turn off knock retard and go to the orange line, or the reddish orange line. So what we're looking at is we're concerned with this area right in here and this area right in here, where obviously you're raising the RPMs up and the mile per hour of the car is increasing. So So as I start the run, I'm in second gear because with the tune, I mean, it spins a lot. It spins a lot more. So vehicle speed 19 miles an hour is what we'll call it. And as I go to increase, get on the gas, the ignition timing starts dropping down. As you can see right here, it goes from negative 2.9 because I'm putting around. And then when I get serious on the gas, like I've mentioned in other videos, it quickly drops down to 0. So there's 0. At that point, I'm going 24 miles per hour. And as I hit, I think that's third gear, I'm at 3.6. And as I rev up to fourth, let's see, well, that was second, third, fourth gear, or third gear. I'm losing track because I can put my gear counter on. Sorry. Hang on. I don't mean to be over, give too much information, but once you dive into this stuff, it's really, really cool. So we got a gear selector. So here I'm in third gear. I shift down to second to start my run. And then, so I'm in second gear. I hit third gear. And I hit fourth gear. And then that's where I top out at 99 miles per hour before I have to shut off. So we're going to look at ignition timing. So ignition timing from 0 up to in through the gears goes up to 3.6, 2.7, 2.2, 2.8, 3.4, 3.9, 4.2, 4.3, and then it drops to 2.5, 2.6, and then when I let off the throttle, it goes back to negative ignition timing. I can't explain it. I don't know if this is detrimental, if it's nothing to worry about. I can't get a read from my tuner. I'm not going to even mention their name. 2.1, and then as I'm cruising around, it just hovers at -2, -3, until I come down here, and you can find out the difference between this time right here. I just don't have that pulled up, and I don't want to give you too much information. But so I'm in first gear, and again, I don't think I get on it. First gear, I go up to second gear, and then I start accelerating in second gear. So it goes from -3 ignition timing, -2 to 0 there. We'll just call that 0 to +2, +3, +4. Gear shift, +2.5, 2.8, 3, 3.5, 3.6, 3.8. And then a gear shift, a 2.4, a 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, 2.8. And then I hit my peak right there at 103. It's at +2, 2.8. And then I let off the throttle, and it goes back to -2.8, -2.8, 2.9, -3, -4. I just don't know with this tune what's going on. I've got my knock index, and that's going to blow people's mind if I go there. I mean, that's going to... and someone more educated than me might be able to determine... well, I guess there's just the individual knocks right there. So right now... See, I mean, there you see just some minor knock. This is going to be, I guess, more pinpointing per the cylinder and something knock index raw. So there's not a lot of negative, and I wouldn't think that's unusual because this is off throttle. So a lot of information, and we'll look at real quick, and then I'll let y'all go, and so you can rest or whatever you're going to do on this virus night. We're going to put the engine speed RPM back up, and we're going to look at oil temperature real quick. So the beginning of those two runs back to back, and it was probably 68 degrees yesterday. I mean, and it had like almost 50% humidity, so it felt like it was about 75. So engine oil temperature, as you look at the black box, you can look at those numbers. We're going to turn off the knock cylinders, and then that'll give us less to take your eyesight off what needs to be on. So it starts out at 194, goes up to 198, all during that full 102 miles an hour. Then shortly after to 103, it goes up to 198 to 201, and then we'll start cooling down as I start cruising around. So what else can we look at? Ignition timing correction. Oh, we already looked at that. Exhaust temps. Intake air. Where's my compressed air? Hang on, I'm going to cover one more thing. Charge air temp. So my charged air temp during the first run, it started out, and when I jumped down to second gear, it was at 115 charge air temp. So that's the compressed air, getting compressed by the turbochargers. In between the turbocharger, air box to the turbocharger, and then the turbocharger to the cylinders or to the throttle body. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a sensor in there that's measuring. So 113 degrees. So when I get on the throttle, the temperature drops. I think that's a pretty efficient heat exchanger. So when you start climbing up in the 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 mile per hour, the temp drops to 108, and then I let off the gas and it goes up to 113, and it levels out at about 117, maybe 118, and then I immediately jump back into another 103 miles per hour from gear 2. And so that drops the air temp down from 118 to 115. It's 117 in the middle of the run where I hit the 103 right here. So it's 118. So I think that's a very fair number. We'll have to see when it's 105 or 99 degrees. What will that be? 130, 125? But yeah, you can see. So I got information before being tuned and not being tuned within a day. So pretty helpful information if you ask me. So there's other things, but I just wanted to share that with everybody. So I think, with this ignition timing correction, it's got, when I'm off the gas, it's getting back to the -2, -3, clearly in between the run. Over here, it's -2.9, but as soon as I get in this area, it jumps to positive, and as soon as I get on the gas, it jumps up to positive. So it just doesn't sit right with me. So, with that said, if you liked the video, if you found this informative, if you're learning something from this, DataZap is a very cool online program, website to upload your data logs to. And as you data log more and you start seeing numbers, and this will all make a lot more sense to you, and it helps you to make sure your car is performing correctly, and that just everything's working together. So, like I said, like the video if it's helpful. If you found it informative, give me a like. And other than that, I'll set you free, and y'all have a good night. And thanks for tuning in yet again.